The sword of righteousness tore back into real space at the edge of the Helion system with the violence of reality reasserting itself. Klaxons wailed briefly as Geller fields collapsed and the ship's crew scrambled to confirm their position. On the bridge, Marshal Helbrecht stood before the tactical display, his expression carved from stone as the sensor returns populated. "Emperor's blood," the augur officer whispered. The Helion system was dying. 3 worlds, all simultaneously burning under demonic assault. The tactical display painted them in crimson, each one marked with warp breach signatures that pulsed like infected wounds. Helion Prime appeared first on the display. The industrial world's surface was a tapestry of fire and slaughter. Entire factory complexes burned with unnatural flames. The planetary capital, Helion Primus, was barely visible beneath clouds of ash and blood-red mist, and everywhere, the signatures of Cornete demons. "Vox traffic from Helion Prime," the communications officer reported, his voice tight. "PDF command reports 70% casualties. The governor is dead. Arbit's forces have fallen back to the inner hive. They estimate 6 hours before complete collapse." 6 hours. Helbrecht's jaw tightened. They'd made it with time to spare, but not much. What about Secundus and Tertius? Secundus reports reality breakdown, Scientian corruption. Civil order has collapsed. They're requesting immediate inquisitorial intervention. The officer paused. Tertius has gone silent. Last transmission spoke of transcendent peace. Slaaneshi corruption confirmed. 3 worlds. 3 different chaos gods. 3 simultaneous breaches. It was coordinated, deliberate, and far beyond typical demonic incursion patterns. This was the ruinous powers working in concert, and that almost never happened, unless they had a specific target. Helbrecht turned to find the Doomslayer standing at the edge of the bridge, armor gleaming from the tech priest's repairs, weapons ready, the new shoulder pauldron marking him as a brother-in-arms to the Black Templars. The warrior's helmet was turned toward the tactical display, studying the 3 worlds with what Helbrecht imagined was cold calculation. "Doomslayer," the marshal said. "The situation is worse than intelligence suggested. 3 worlds, all in critical condition, will need to deploy immediately to whichever world you judge most salvageable." The Doomslayer's helmet turned toward Helbrecht. Then he raised one armored finger, pointed at Helion Prime, then raised a second finger, pointed at Helion Secundus, then a third finger, pointed at Helion Tertius. "All 3. Yes, all 3 are under assault," Helbrecht confirmed. "But we must prioritize. Choose which." The Doomslayer shook his head. He pointed at Prime, made a throat-cutting gesture, pointed at his chronometer. 20 hours. Then pointed at Secundus. Throat-cutting gesture. 30 hours. Then Tertius. Throat-cutting gesture. 24 hours. The bridge fell silent. "You want to save all 3 worlds?" Helbrecht said slowly. "Sequentially. In 72 hours, total." The Doomslayer nodded once. "That's..." Helbrecht trailed off. He'd been about to say impossible, but he'd learned that word had little meaning when applied to this warrior. "That's the most aggressive timeline I've ever heard. But if you believe it's achievable, then we commit fully." He turned to his bridge crew. "Navigator, plot insertion course for Helion Prime. Thunderhawk crews, prepare for immediate combat deployment. Vox officer, transmit to all PDF commands. Black Templars inbound. Hold the line. The Emperor's wrath is coming." Brother Sergeant Castian approached, his squad already assembled and armed. "Marshal, my sword brethren are ready. We'll deploy with the Doomslayer." "Good." Helbrecht looked at the tactical display one more time. 3 worlds, 40 million souls, and one warrior who'd already proven he could face impossible odds and emerge victorious. "Castian, when you return from Helion Prime, you'll have 2 hours to rearm and resupply before deploying to Secundus." I'm committing everything to this plan. We save all 3 worlds, or we die trying. Understood, Marshal, for the Emperor and for humanity. For the Emperor, Helbrecht agreed. Then, quieter, and for the 40 million who deserve to see another dawn. The Thunderhawk hammer of dawn screamed through Helion Prime's atmosphere, its armored hull shuddering as it penetrated clouds of ash and vaporized blood. Inside the troop compartment, the Doomslayer sat surrounded by Squad Castian. All 6 Black Templars were present. Castian, Thomas, Hadrian, Brennys, Grimaldus, and Tancred in his dreadnought chassis. Approaching drop zone, the pilot's voice crackled over the Vox. Emperor's throne, I've never seen this much corruption. The entire capital is drowning in Cornete presence. PDF has evacuated to the inner sanctum. They're holding the last defensible position, but barely. Through the armored viewports, the Doomslayer caught glimpses of Helion Prime's surface. What had once been an industrial city of 15 million was now a charnel house. Streets literally ran with blood, the liquid flowing in rivers toward massive skull pyramids constructed from the remains of PDF soldiers and civilians. Buildings burned with crimson flame that defied all attempts at suppression. And everywhere, the demons. Bloodletters charged through the ruins in packs of hundreds. Flesh hounds prowled the shadows, hunting survivors. Blood crushers mounted on juggernauts trampled through PDF barricades. The planetary defense forces had fought with courage, but courage alone couldn't stop the Blood God's legions. Landing zone in 30 seconds. Brace for Emperor's blood. We've got incoming. The Thunderhawk jinked hard, evading a stream of warp fire from the ground. Through the viewport, the Doomslayer saw the source. A skull cannon, a Cornet demon engine that launched the screaming skulls of the damned. The pilot rolled, the gunship's engine screaming, and returned fire with nose-mounted LS cannons. The skull cannon exploded in a satisfying ball of flame. Landing now. The Thunderhawk hit the ground hard in the middle of what had been the planetary governor's plaza. The assault ramp dropped, and the Doomslayer was first out, super shotgun ready. The stench of blood hit him immediately. Not metaphorical blood, not trace amounts. The plaza was ankle-deep in the stuff. Bodies lay everywhere, PDF soldiers and civilians alike, all bearing the marks of Cornate butchery. Skulls had been harvested, arranged in patterns that hurt to look at. And in the distance, barely a kilometer away, the warp breach hung in the sky like a wound in reality itself. A roar echoed across the plaza. Bloodletters, dozens of them, charging from 3 directions. The Doomslayer raised his super shotgun and fired. The first demon skull exploded in a spray of ichor. He adjusted, fired again. Another demon dissolved. Behind him, Squad Castian spread out in disciplined formation, bolters roaring. Contact left, flesh hounds, pack of 12, Brother Thomas called. Concentrated fire, Castian ordered. Don't let them close. But the Doomslayer was already moving. He switched to his heavy assault cannon, the weapon spinning up with a whine like a turbofan engine. When it fired, the sound was apocalyptic. Hundreds of rounds per second chewed through demon flesh. Bloodletters dissolved under the withering fire. Flesh hounds were torn apart mid-leap. He advanced across the plaza like a force of nature, weapons never silent, constantly moving, always pressing forward. The Black Templars struggled to keep pace. By the throne, Brother Hadrian breathed. He's accelerating. He's actually moving faster than on Golan Prime. It was true. The Doomslayer had analyzed his previous battles, optimized his tactics, learned the patterns of Warhammer demons versus Doom demons. They were similar enough that old strategies applied, different enough that adaptation was required. And he'd adapted. A blood crusher charged from the ruins, its juggernaut mount bellowing as it closed distance. The Doomslayer didn't slow. He waited until the last moment. sidestepped the charge with impossible agility, and drove his crucible blade through the Juggernaut's neck as it passed. The demon mount collapsed, spilling its rider. The bloodletter barely had time to rise before the Doomslayer's boot crushed its skull. "Doomslayer, we're receiving Vox from PDF Command," Castian called out. "They're requesting we fall back to their defensive perimeter. They say charging the breach directly is suicide." The Doomslayer's response was to keep walking toward the breach. "I'll take that as noted and dismissed," Castian muttered. "Templars, advance. We follow the Green Warrior." They pushed through the city's ruins, carving a path through endless waves of Khornati demons. The Doomslayer led from the front, his kill count climbing with every meter. He'd learned to glory kill in this universe too, seizing wounded demons and executing them with brutal efficiency, the act somehow feeding him energy, just as it had in Doom's hell. Each glory kill refreshed his shields, replenished his stamina, kept him fighting at peak efficiency. A bloodthirster materialized ahead, drawn by the slaughter. The greater demon spread its wings, brass armor gleaming, and roared a challenge in the dark tongue. "Greater demon!" Grimaldus shouted. "Doomslayer, we should—" The Doomslayer fired his BFG 9000. The emerald plasma sphere crossed the distance in a heartbeat and detonated against the bloodthirster's chest. Argent energy exploded outward, consuming warp stuff. The greater demon's roar became a shriek, then silence as it dissolved into nothing. True death. Again. "Coordinate our assault," Grimaldus finished weakly. "Or you could just do that." "I love this warrior." Tancred's Vox speakers boomed with joy. "Every battle with him is glorious." They fought for 20 minutes straight, a rolling battle through the city's burning heart. The Doomslayer killed with mechanical efficiency, super shotgun for groups, heavy assault cannon for sustained fire, crucible blade for anything that got close. BFG for greater demons. His ammunition management was perfect, never wasting a single round, always using the right weapon for the right target. The PDF soldiers who witnessed his advance began to whisper. The Green Angel, the Emperor's Wrath, the Demon Slayer. Word spread through Vox channels. Hope, fragile and desperate, began to kindle in the hearts of defenders who'd thought themselves doomed. Then they reached the breach. The warp tier hung above what had been Helion Prime's central manufactorium, a swirling vortex of blood-red energy easily 50 meters across. And guarding it, standing before a brass altar constructed from melted weapons and screaming souls, were 3 bloodthirsters. Not one, not 2. 3 greater demons of Khorne working in coordination. Castian's helmet turned toward the Doomslayer. That's unprecedented. Greater demons don't cooperate. They're too competitive, too driven by individual glory. The Doomslayer studied the 3 demons. They were identical in form, but different in bearing. The first carried a massive brass axe and exuded pure rage. The second bore a whip of fire and radiated cruel intelligence. The third wielded both axe and blade and moved with calculated precision. Rage, cunning, and skill. Khorne's trinity of warfare made manifest. The 3 bloodthirsters saw him and roared as one. The sound shook buildings, cracked rockcrete, and made even Space Marines take involuntary steps backward. The Doomslayer checked his weapons. BFG at 68% charge. He'd used it twice already. Not enough for 3 greater demons. He'd have to do this the hard way. He holstered the BFG, loaded his super shotgun, and charged. "Emperor's Throne," Castian shouted. "Templars, support fire. Keep the lesser demons off him." The 3 bloodthirsters met his charge with savage joy. They'd been created specifically for this moment, empowered by Khorne's personal attention, given singular purpose. Kill the Doomslayer. The first demon, Rage, swung its axe in a devastating overhead arc. The Doomslayer rolled beneath it, came up firing both barrels of his super shotgun into the demon's knee. Ichor sprayed. The Bloodthirster staggered, and the Doomslayer was already moving, dodging the second demon's whip. Cunning wrapped its whip around his ankle, yanking him off balance. The third demon, Skill, lunged with blade extended, aiming for a killing thrust. The Doomslayer twisted mid-air, activated his equipment launcher, and fired a frag grenade directly into Skill's face. The explosion staggered the demon. He used the momentum of Cunning's pull to swing himself around, planting both feet on the demon's chest and pushing off. The whip released, and he somersaulted through the air, landing in a combat crouch. All three Bloodthirsters converged on him simultaneously. What followed was a masterclass in combat against overwhelming odds. The Doomslayer moved with impossible speed, dodging, weaving, never staying still long enough for any single demon to land a hit. He used their size against them, maneuvering so they blocked each other's strikes. When Rage swung its axe, he'd position himself so Cunning was in the path. When Skill thrust with its blade, he'd dodge so it nearly impaled Rage instead. And every opening, every fraction of a second when a demon was committed to an attack and couldn't defend, he struck. Super shotgun blast to expose joints. Crucible thrust through wing membranes. Heavy assault cannon burst into wounds he'd already created. The greater demons were bleeding, wounded, but nowhere near dead. They adapted to his tactics, began to coordinate better, forced him into tighter spaces. Doomslayer's shields are at 30%, Brother Hadrian reported, his helm's sensors tracking the battle. He can't sustain this. Then we help him, Grimaldus declared. The chaplain charged forward, his Crozius Arcanum blazing with holy light. For the Emperor, for humanity, death to the servants of the Blood God. The Black Templars joined the battle. Castian's power sword carved into Cunning's leg. Thomas's heavy flamer created a wall of fire that separated Rage from the others. Tancred's assault cannon hammered into Skill's back, each round chipping away at brass armor. The demons roared in fury, suddenly facing not one opponent, but 7. Their coordination broke as they were forced to divide their attention. The Doomslayer saw his opening. Rage was isolated, separated from its brothers by walls of Prometheum flame. He sprint-jumped onto a pile of rubble, launched himself at the greater demon, and drove his crucible blade through the base of its skull. Argent energy blazed. Rage's bellow became a gurgle, then silence. The first Bloodthirster dissolved. 1 down. Tancred's enthusiasm was infectious. 2 more. This is glorious. Cunning and Skill retreated, regrouping near the brass altar. The demons exchanged glances. Something passed between them, understanding, acceptance. They knew they were outmatched, but Khorne did not permit retreat. Blood for the Blood God, they roared in unison. Skulls for the Skull Throne. They charged together, a final desperate assault. Cunning's whip lashed out in complex patterns, creating a web of fire that restricted movement. Skill followed behind, blade ready to exploit any opening. The Doomslayer walked directly into the whip fire. His shields flared, taking damage, dropping to 15%, 10%, 5%. The Black Templar shouted warnings, but he didn't stop. He reached Cunning, grabbed the whip with his bare hand, his gauntlet immediately beginning to melt from the heat, and pulled. The Bloodthirster stumbled forward, off balance. The Doomslayer's super shotgun came up, both barrels pressed against the demon's jaw, and fired. The greater demon's head exploded. 2 down. Skill was already there, blade thrusting for his exposed back. The Doomslayer couldn't dodge in time. The blade was going to... Tancred's dreadnought fist intercepted the strike, his mechanical hand clamping onto the blade and stopping it mere inches from the Doomslayer's spine. No one, Tancred's Vox speakers boomed, strikes my battle brother from behind. The ancient warrior twisted, wrenching the blade from Skill's grip. The bloodthirster stumbled, weaponless, and in that moment of vulnerability, the Doomslayer drove his crucible through its chest. Argent energy consumed the third greater demon. Skill dissolved into ash and fading screams. Silence fell across the battlefield. 3 bloodthirsters, 3 of Khorne's mightiest servants, dead. Truly dead. Not banished, but destroyed. The Doomslayer stood among their dissolving corpses, armor scorched, shields depleted, but still functional. He looked at Tancred and gave a thumbs up. "Thanks. You're most welcome, friend." Tancred's enthusiasm hadn't diminished, despite the damage his chassis had sustained. "That was the finest battle I've experienced in centuries. Let us kill many more demons together." "The breach is destabilizing," Castian observed, pointing at the warp tear above. "Without the greater demons to anchor it, the rift is beginning to collapse on its own." But the Doomslayer shook his head. He pointed at the brass altar, at the pulsing energy flowing from it into the breach. The anchor, like Turium Majoris, like Golan Prime, the breach needed a physical anchor to maintain stability. He approached the altar, studied its construction for exactly 3 seconds, then planted his last argent grenade at its base. Set the timer. 30 seconds. "Fall back," Castian ordered. "All units, clear the area." The Black Templars retreated to minimum safe distance. The Doomslayer walked calmly away from the altar, reloading his super shotgun as he went. The grenade detonated. The altar exploded in a cascade of argent energy and brass shrapnel. The warp breach above convulsed, its edges contracting, the flow of demons cutting off abruptly. It spiraled inward, collapsing like a drain being unplugged, and then it was gone. Sealed. Helion Prime was free. The Doomslayer checked his chronometer. 18 hours, 43 minutes since insertion, under his 20-hour estimate. "Helion Prime, PDF command to Black Templars." A voice crackled over the Vox. Hope, wonder, and disbelief mixed together. "The demons are dissolving. The breach is closed. You actually saved us." "Confirmed," Castian replied. "Helion Prime is secure. Begin casualty assessment and recovery operations. Black Templars are extracting for redeployment." "Extracting? But there's still cleanup, still scattered demons, still..." "2 more worlds require liberation," Castian interrupted. "We have a schedule to maintain. The Emperor protects, soldier. Tend to your wounded." As the Thunderhawk descended to extract them, the Doomslayer looked out across Helion Prime's burning capital. PDF soldiers were emerging from their fortifications, staring in awe at the now clear sky. Some were weeping, others were praying. All of them were alive. 15 million souls saved. 1 world liberated. 2 more to go. The sword of righteousness hung in orbit above Helion Secundus, and even from space, the corruption was visible. The planet's surface shimmered with impossible colors, hues that had no name in human language, geometries that defied Euclidean logic. Entire continents phased in and out of existence. Cities existed in multiple timelines simultaneously. Tzeentch, the changer of ways, had brought his particular brand of madness to the hive world. Marshal Helbrecht stood in the strategium, studying the sensor returns with growing unease. Augur readings are inconsistent. The planet's mass keeps changing. Its rotational period is different every time we measure it. Even its orbital position shifts. Tzeentchian corruption affects reality itself, Inquisitor Vogue said. He'd transferred to the Sword of Righteousness to coordinate the second assault. The Changer of Ways doesn't just corrupt flesh like Nurgle or inspire rage like Khorne. He corrupts causality, logic, the fundamental laws of physics. Fighting on Secundus will be unlike anything you've experienced. The Doomslayer stood at the tactical display, studying the planet. His helmet showed no emotion, but those who'd fought beside him could read his body language. He was analyzing, planning, calculating. The warp breach isn't localized like on Prime. Voke continued, manipulating the display. Tzeentch has anchored it across 5-dimensional nodes spread across the planet's surface. You'll need to destroy all 5 anchors to destabilize the breach. And reaching them, he paused. Reality itself will fight you. Time loops, spatial recursion, maddening visions. The Changer of Ways will use every trick in his arsenal. The Doomslayer pointed at the 5 anchor locations, then held up 5 fingers, counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Closed his fist. Destroy all 5. Collapsed the breach. The PDF has lost cohesion, Helbrecht added. Half the soldiers can't remember why they're fighting. The other half are fighting battles that haven't happened yet or already ended hours ago. Time has lost meaning on Secundus. The Arbits are trying to maintain order, but order has no meaning when reality itself is malleable. Castian approached, his squad assembled and rearmed. 2 hours of rest and resupply as promised, though everyone looked exhausted. 18 hours of combat on Helion Prime had pushed even Space Marines to their limits. Everyone except the Doomslayer, who'd spent the 2 hours maintaining his weapons with methodical precision. How do we fight an enemy that can rewrite reality? Castian asked. On Prime, the enemy was straightforward. Demons, physical combat, clear objectives, but Tzeentch. The Doomslayer's response was simple. He raised his crucible blade, activated it. The argent energy blazed green, pure and real. Then he pressed his fist against his chest, right where a human heart would be. The meaning was clear. Stay focused on what's real. Don't let illusions distract you. Easier said than done, Voke muttered. But perhaps that's your advantage. You have no psyker abilities, no connection to the warp. Tzeentch's psychic assaults may affect you less than they would normal humans or even Space Marines. Then we deploy immediately, Helbrecht decided. Every hour we delay, 20 million souls slide further into madness. Castian, your squad will accompany the Doomslayer. Chaplain Grimaldus, your faith will be crucial in anchoring reality. I'm also assigning you a navigator. Your warp sight might help identify real threats versus illusions. A figure stepped forward from the shadows. Navigator Yelta, her third eye hidden beneath a blessed bandage, bowed slightly. Marshal, I will guide the Doomslayer through Tzeentch's labyrinth. The Doomslayer nodded acknowledgement. Any asset that helped kill demons faster was acceptable. One more thing, Voke said quietly. Tzeentch is subtle. Where Khorne offers power and glory, the Changer offers knowledge. He'll promise you understanding, how to save every world, how to end chaos forever, how to win your eternal war. He'll offer you what you want most. The Doomslayer's helmet turned toward the Inquisitor. What I want most is dead demons. Everything else is noise. Good, Voke said. Remember that when he offers you the galaxy. The Thunderhawk descent into Helion Secundus was a nightmare. The gunship's machine spirits screamed warnings as reality warped around them. One moment they were descending through normal atmosphere. The next, they were flying upside down through clouds made of crystallized time, then sideways, then backward. I can't maintain course, the pilot shouted. Spatial orientation keeps changing. Up is down, forward is backward. Just land, Castian ordered. Anywhere solid. We'll navigate on foot. The Thunderhawk crashed more than landed, plowing through a street that existed in 3 different centuries simultaneously. The assault ramp dropped and the Doomslayer emerged into madness. The city around him was wrong. Buildings twisted into impossible shapes, their architecture violating every law of physics. Streets spiraled upward into the sky. Windows showed scenes from the past, future, and timelines that had never existed. And the colors, Emperor's throne, the colors hurt to look at. Citizens wandered the streets, some aging rapidly from infant to corpse in seconds, others moving backward through time. PDF soldiers fought battles against enemies that hadn't arrived yet. Arbits enforced laws that wouldn't be written for another decade. And the demons. Pink horrors cackled as they split into blue horrors, which split into brimstone horrors in an endless cascade. Flamers of Tzeentch breathed fire that burned time itself. Screamers flew through the air, their alien cries inducing seizures in unprotected minds. "This is worse than the report suggested," Grimaldus said, his skull-faced helmet turning to survey the chaos. "Reality has completely broken down. How do we even navigate to the first anchor?" Navigator Yelta stepped forward, her third eye burning beneath its bandage. "I can see the threads of fate, the paths through the madness. Follow me, and whatever you see, whatever you experience, remember it's not real unless it can hurt you." The Doomslayer raised his super shotgun. "If it can be killed, it's real enough." They advanced into the city's heart, following Yelta's guidance through streets that changed with every step. The Doomslayer adapted quickly, learning to trust his HUD sensors rather than his eyes. When a building appeared solid, his sensors showed void. When a street looked empty, his motion tracker revealed demons. He learned to shoot what his equipment detected, not what he saw. A pack of pink horrors materialized ahead, gibbering in inhuman tongues. The Doomslayer's heavy assault cannon roared. The demons split into blue horrors, which he promptly destroyed before they could split further. Chaos Warfare 101. Kill them faster than they can multiply. "The first anchor should be ahead," Yelta called out. "In the Cathedral of... No, wait. The cathedral exists in 3 locations simultaneously. We need to..." She paused, her third eye burning brighter. "We need to go through that building." She pointed at a solid wall. The Doomslayer didn't question. He simply walked forward and passed through the wall like it wasn't there. Because in this reality-broken hellscape, it probably wasn't. On the other side, they found themselves in a vast chamber that shouldn't exist. Larger on the inside than the outside, filled with crystalline structures that pulsed with warp energy. And at the chamber's center, hovering above a complex ritual circle, the first dimensional anchor. It was beautiful and terrible, a geometric construct that existed in more dimensions than human minds could comprehend, rotating through angles that weren't possible in 3-dimensional space. Just looking at it made the eyes water and the brain ache. Guarding it were not demons, but Thousand Sons sorcerers. Chaos Space Marines in ornate blue armor, their bodies long since turned to dust, but animated by sorcerous power. Their leader, a sorcerer lord, turned eyeless sockets toward the Doomslayer. "The anomaly," the sorcerer's voice echoed from everywhere and nowhere. "Tzeentch has foreseen your coming, calculated 10,000 possible futures. In 9,999, you die here. In 1, you accept the Changer's gift." The Doomslayer raised his crucible blade. "I'm betting on option 3. You die instead." "Arrogance," the sorcerer chided. "Tzeentch offers you knowledge, warrior. Knowledge of how to save every world threatened by chaos. Knowledge of chaos's true weakness. Knowledge of how to end your eternal war and finally rest. All you need do is accept his blessing." The Doomslayer's response was to fire his BFG 9000 directly at the Sorcerer Lord. The emerald plasma sphere crossed the chamber in a heartbeat. The sorcerer raised his staff, summoning warp shields, deflecting the blast. The plasma detonated against the chamber wall, creating a crater of scorched reality. "You refuse enlightenment," the sorcerer sighed. "Then you choose oblivion. Brothers, kill him." The Thousand Sons opened fire with warp-infused bolters. The Doomslayer's shields absorbed the initial barrage. Then he was moving. He'd fought sorcerers before. In Hell, they'd been called Archviles and Summoners. The strategy was the same. Close distance, disrupt casting, kill before they could use their most devastating powers. He charged through warp fire, shields depleting but holding. A thousand-sun sorcerer tried to cast a temporal loop, trapping him in repeating time. The Doomslayer's crucible blade carved through the spell's matrix like it was physical matter. Argent energy disrupted sorcery at a fundamental level. Another sorcerer summoned a Lord of Change, a greater demon of Tzinch that materialized in a burst of impossible colors. The demon spread its wings, staff raised, psychic power gathering for a reality-breaking assault. The Doomslayer threw a frag grenade into its open beak. The explosion was beautiful, in a terrible way. The Lord of Change's head detonated from the inside, its body dissolving into warp stuff before it could fully manifest. Impossible! The Sorcerer Lord's composure finally broke. You cannot simply grenaded a greater demon. The Doomslayer could, had, and would continue to do so. He advanced through the Thousand Suns ranks, crucible blade carving through ancient ceramite and sorceress wards alike. When they tried to trap him in time loops, his argent technology disrupted the temporal fields. When they summoned demons, he killed them before they could fully manifest. When they threw warp fire, his shields absorbed it. The Black Templars joined the assault, bolters roaring, but even they struggled against reality-warping sorcery. Brother Hadrian found himself fighting a version of himself from an alternate timeline. Brennus aged 50 years in 10 seconds before Grimaldus's prayers restored proper causality. Tancred's dreadnought chassis began phasing in and out of existence. "Stay close to me," Grimaldus commanded, his Crozius blazing with holy light. "My faith anchors reality. The Emperor's light burns away illusion." It was true. Within a 10-meter radius of the chaplain, reality stabilized. Colors returned to normal. Physics reasserted itself. Time flowed properly. Grimaldus had become a walking Geller field, his absolute faith in the God Emperor creating a bubble of sanity in Tzinch's madness. The Doomslayer noticed and adapted. He fought near Grimaldus when possible, using the stable reality to maximum effect. When forced away by combat dynamics, he relied on his sensors and technology to navigate illusion. The Sorcerer Lord, seeing his brothers fall, made a desperate gambit. He began channeling power directly from the dimensional anchor, his form swelling with stolen warp energy. Reality around him warped, creating a vortex of temporal distortion. "I see your future, Doomslayer." The sorcerer's voice boomed, now multiplied 1,000-fold. "I see you fail. I see worlds burn. I see your eternal war ending in defeat. I see..." The Doomslayer walked directly into the temporal vortex. His HUD screamed warnings. His armor's chronometer went haywire, counting forward and backward simultaneously. He experienced his own death 100 different ways: age, combat, betrayal, despair. Saw futures where he failed, where demons won, where everything he'd fought for meant nothing. And he ignored it all, because futures were just possibilities. The only thing that mattered was the present, the now, the trigger he was pulling, the blade he was swinging, the demon he was killing right this second. He emerged from the temporal vortex directly in front of the Sorcerer Lord and drove his crucible blade through the ancient warrior's chest. Argent energy blazed. The sorcerer's temporal powers couldn't save him from a weapon that killed at a metaphysical level. His body dissolved, dust and armor crumbling, and with him went the vortex. The Doomslayer approached the dimensional anchor. Up close, it was even more complex. A fusion of mathematics, sorcery, and demon binding. Destroying it would require precision or overwhelming force. He planted his remaining argent grenades at key structural points, linked them on a single detonator, and activated the timer. "Doomslayer, we need to clear the chamber," Castian called out. "When that anchor goes, the dimensional collapse will..." The anchor exploded. Reality screamed. The chamber they were in ceased to exist in any meaningful sense, phasing through multiple dimensions before stabilizing. The Doomslayer found himself standing in a crater where the chamber used to be, his armor scorched but functional. 1 anchor down, 4 to go. The anchor's destruction is propagating through Tzeentch's ritual matrix, Navigator Yelta reported, her third eye bleeding from the strain of watching dimensional mechanics. The other 4 anchors are destabilizing, but we still need to destroy them to completely collapse the breach. The Doomslayer checked his chronometer. 6 hours elapsed. 4 anchors remaining. He pointed toward where Yelta indicated the second anchor would be and started walking. The next 22 hours became a blur of surreal combat. The second anchor was guarded by a demon prince of Tzeentch who tried to trap the Doomslayer in a maze that rearranged itself with each step. He solved the maze by chainsawing through the walls until he reached the center, then killed the demon prince with a crucible thrust through its chest. The third anchor was submerged in a sea of liquid time where past and future existed simultaneously. Navigator Yelta guided them through temporal currents, and the Doomslayer fought demons that attacked from both yesterday and tomorrow. When he finally reached the anchor, he destroyed it with a carefully placed BFG shot that consumed the entire temporal sea. The fourth anchor existed in a pocket dimension, accessible only during moments of perfect uncertainty, when observers couldn't determine if something was real or illusion. Grimaldus created that moment through prayer, his absolute faith making reality question itself. The Doomslayer stepped through the uncertainty, destroyed the anchor, and stepped back before the pocket dimension collapsed. By the time they reached the fifth and final anchor, the Doomslayer's ammunition was at 30%. His BFG was depleted. His armor had sustained damage that even his Praetor suit's self-repair system struggled to address. But he was still moving, still fighting, still pushing forward. The final anchor hung in the spire of what had once been the planetary governor's palace. The building, phased between ruined and pristine, existed in multiple time periods simultaneously. And waiting at the top, in a chamber that hurt to look at, was Tzeentch's ultimate gambit. Not a demon, not a sorcerer, a book. It floated in the chamber's center, bound in human skin and demon leather, its pages turning themselves. Words written in languages that predated humanity, knowledge that could drive mortals mad with a single glance. The black cube of Tzeentch, a fragment of the Changer of Way's own essence given form. Don't look at it, Vok's voice crackled over the Vox from orbit. Don't read the pages. That tome contains knowledge that could answer every question you've ever had, and that knowledge would destroy you. The Doomslayer approached the book. It spoke, though it had no mouth, no voice box, no physical means of communication. The words simply appeared in his mind. Doomslayer, I know your true name. I know your original world. I know how you became what you are. Would you like to remember? He kept walking. I know the weakness in chaos, the one vulnerability that could end the warp's corruption forever. Would you like to learn? He raised his crucible blade. I know how to save every world threatened by demons, every civilian, every child. You could end suffering across the galaxy. All you need do is read one page, just one. The Doomslayer hesitated, just for a fraction of a second. Because that offer, saving everyone, that was what he wanted. That was his purpose. But he'd learned long ago that shortcuts didn't exist. Demons lied. Chaos corrupted. There was no easy path, no magical solution. There was only the work, one demon at a time, one world at a time, one battle at a time, forever. He drove his crucible blade through the book. The tome screamed, literally screamed, with a sound like reality tearing. Pages burst into flames that burned green with argent fire. Knowledge that could have answered every question in the universe dissolved into ash. Fool. Tzeentch's voice thundered through the chamber, the chaos. God's personal attention focused on this single moment. You could have had everything, understanding, power, the means to end your war. The Doomslayer pulled his blade free, watching the book crumble. Why? Why do you refuse? The Doomslayer's response was silent, but those who knew him understood. Because the answer is the work, because shortcuts lead to corruption, because I'll save the galaxy one dead demon at a time, not through Chaos's gifts. The chamber collapsed. The final anchor dissolved, and in orbit above Helion Secundus, the massive warp breach began to spiral inward, its 5-point matrix destroyed. Unable to maintain stability, it collapsed with a sound like reality sighing in relief. Helion Secundus was free. The Doomslayer stood in the ruins of the governor's palace, surrounded by Black Templars who looked at him with new respect. He'd walked through Tzeentch's labyrinth, faced the Changer of Ways' ultimate temptation, and chosen the hard path. Not because he was incorruptible, though he was. Not because he was too stupid to understand the offer, though simplicity had its advantages, but because he understood something the Chaos Gods never would. The work was the point. The fighting was the purpose. You didn't end evil by accepting Chaos's gifts. You ended it by killing demons until there were no demons left, even if that took forever. 28 hours, Castian said, checking his chronometer. You estimated 30. You beat your own timeline. The Doomslayer nodded. 20 million souls saved. 2 worlds liberated. 1 more to go. More. The sword of righteousness hung above Helion Tertius, and even from orbit, something felt wrong. Not wrong like Secundus's reality corruption. Not wrong like Prime's ocean of blood. Wrong in a more subtle, insidious way. The planet looked peaceful. Beautiful, even. The auger returns showed normal gravity, standard atmospheric composition, stable electromagnetic fields. Cities appeared intact, power grids functional, civilian populations happy. That was the problem. Happiness on a world undergoing demonic invasion. Slaaneshi corruption, Inquisitor Voke explained, his voice tight. The Dark Prince doesn't conquer through violence or madness. Slaanesh conquers through pleasure, through excess, through offering what mortals secretly desire. And once they accept, once they taste the Dark Prince's gifts, they don't want to be saved. Marshal Helbrecht studied the sensor data with growing unease. Vox traffic indicates civilian populations are celebrating. They're not fleeing demons. They're welcoming them. Of course they are, Vox said bitterly. Slaanesh offers freedom from duty, from responsibility, from the Imperium's harsh demands. On Tertius, citizens don't need to work 12-hour shifts in agri-fields. They don't need to tithe. They don't need to obey. They can simply feel, experience, exist in a state of perpetual sensation. And the corruption, Helbrecht asked. Complete. 90% of the population has fallen. The remaining 10% are holdouts, mostly ecclesiarchy, priests, and arbites. They're barricaded in the planetary cathedral, surrounded by millions of, I hesitate to call them enemies. They're victims who've accepted damnation willingly. The Doomslayer stood at the tactical display, his posture radiating fatigue. 46 hours of continuous combat across 2 worlds. His armor was battered, his ammunition reserves at 20%, his BFG completely depleted. Even his Praetor suit's advanced medical systems couldn't compensate for the sheer exhaustion of fighting for 2 straight days. But the mission wasn't complete. 1 world remained. 5 million souls, most already damned, but some still fighting. They deserved salvation. Brother Castian approached, and even through his helmet the concern was evident. Doomslayer, you need rest. My squad needs rest. We've been fighting non-stop for 2 days. Even Astartes have limits. The Doomslayer checked his weapons. Super shotgun, functional but low on ammunition. Heavy assault cannon, functional but barrel showing heat stress. Crucible blade, functional but argent charge at 60%. Equipment launcher, out of grenades. BFG 9000, depleted. He was battered, exhausted, running on fumes, but 5 million people were counting on him. He pointed at Hellion Tertius, then at his chronometer. 24 hours. We finish this. You'll burn out, Castian insisted. The body has limits, even yours. Even if you save Tertius, you might not survive the effort. The Doomslayer's helmet turned toward the brother sergeant. His meaning was clear. Then I die after saving 5 million people. Acceptable trade. Emperor's throne, Grimaldus muttered. He's insane. He's inspiring, Tancred corrected. If the Doomslayer can fight for 3 days straight, then by the Emperor, so can we. Helbrecht studied the warrior in green armor, this mysterious figure from another dimension who'd already saved 35 million lives and was preparing to die to save 5 million more. Very well, we deploy immediately. But Doomslayer, hear me, you are too valuable to waste. Save Tertius. Close the breach, but survive. That's an order from a marshal of the Black Templars. The Doomslayer gave a thumbs up. I'll try. That's the best we'll get, Castian sighed. Squad, prepare for deployment, and Emperor, protect us all. The Thunderhawk descent into Hellion Tertius was eerily peaceful. No anti-air fire, no demons swarming to intercept. The cities below looked normal, their lights twinkling in the dusk, their streets filled with civilians. Millions of them, moving through the streets in massive crowds, all heading toward the planetary cathedral. What are they doing? Brother Hadrian asked. Going to witness the final fall, Voke replied from orbit. The cathedral is the last bastion of Imperial authority. Once it falls, Tertius belongs to Slaanesh completely. The corrupted want to watch it happen, to celebrate it. The Thunderhawk landed in the cathedral's courtyard. The massive Gothic structure loomed above them, its walls covered in prayers and devotional scripture. Arbits stood on the ramparts, their carapace armor battered, their shotguns ready. They looked exhausted, hopeless, defeated. Then they saw the Black Templars disembark. Saw the Doomslayer, his green armor marked with the scars of 2 worlds' worth of demon slaying. Hope kindled in their eyes. The Emperor provides, one Arbite's captain whispered. He sent us angels. The cathedral's doors opened and a figure emerged. Preacher Matthias, the ranking ecclesiarchy member on Tertius, was ancient, easily 150 years old, kept alive by Juvenat treatments and sheer stubborn faith. He bowed to the Black Templars. Brothers, thank the God Emperor you've come. We've held this cathedral for 8 days, but our strength fails. The corrupted don't attack with violence. They attack with words, with promises, with temptations. Every hour, more of our defenders simply walk out and join them. They choose damnation willingly. Where's the warp breach? Castian asked. Matthias pointed toward the city's center. The Grand Amphitheater. It was our cultural heart, where we held concerts and festivals. Now it's... He struggled for words. It's become Slaanesh's temple. The breach manifested there, and the demons transformed it into a palace of excess. Every pleasure imaginable, every sensation possible, all offered freely, and the people went willingly. The Doomslayer studied the amphitheater's distant silhouette. A massive structure, easily large enough to hold 100,000 people. And from this distance, even he could hear it. Music, laughter, screaming that might have been pleasure or pain or both. The breach is anchored by a keeper of secrets, Matthias continued. A greater demon of Slaanesh. It calls itself Luxuria, and it offers everything. Youth, beauty, pleasure, an end to suffering. And for people who've spent their lives toiling in agri-fields under the Imperium's harsh rule. He trailed off, ashamed. They chose damnation over duty, Grimaldus finished, his voice hard. They are traitors to the Emperor. They are victims. The Doomslayer's helmet turned toward Grimaldus. The meaning was clear. They're people who were offered an escape from suffering and took it. Blame the demons, not the desperate. You defend them, Grimaldus challenged. The Doomslayer pointed at the amphitheater, then made a throat-cutting gesture. I'll kill the demons. Save who can be saved. That's the job. I've deployed my Templars to hold this cathedral. Helbrecht's voice crackled over the vox. But Doomslayer, be warned. Slaanesh's corruption is the hardest to fight. It doesn't assault the body like Nurgle or the mind like Tzeentch. It assaults the soul, offers you everything you've denied yourself. The Doomslayer checked his weapons one final time and started walking toward the amphitheater. What has he denied himself? Brennys asked quietly. Castian watched the Doomslayer's retreating form. Everything. Rest. Peace. Connection. He's been fighting for so long that violence is all he knows. Slaanesh will offer him an end to the war, and that, he paused, that might be the one temptation he can't resist. They followed the Doomslayer through streets filled with corrupted civilians. The people didn't attack. They beckoned, offered to share their pleasures, promised that the pain of existence could end, replaced by eternal sensation. Join us, they whispered. Feel what we feel. The Emperor's service is duty and suffering. The Dark Prince offers joy. The Doomslayer walked past them without acknowledging their existence. They were victims, but they'd made their choice. He couldn't save those who didn't want salvation. He could only kill the demons who'd corrupted them. The grand amphitheater rose before them, its architecture transformed. What had been simple Imperial Gothic was now Baroque excess, every surface covered in carvings of impossible beauty and terrible corruption. The entrance was guarded by daemonettes, lesser demons of Slaanesh, beautiful and terrible, their forms designed to appeal to base desires. They saw the Doomslayer and smiled. Welcome, warrior, one purred. Luxuria has been expecting you. The Doomslayer, who fights forever, who denies himself all pleasure in pursuit of endless war. You must be so tired. He raised his super shotgun and fired. The daemonette's smile never faded, even as her form dissolved. So violent, another daemonette giggled. So angry, imagine how good it would feel to let that anger go, to rest, to simply be. He killed her too, and the next, and the next. His super shotgun boomed in steady rhythm, each shot perfectly placed, each kill immediate. The daemonettes died with smiles, their last words promises of pleasure he'd never accept. Inside the amphitheater, the corruption reached its apex. The massive performance space had been transformed into a palace of excess. Every surface dripped with unnatural beauty. Music played from invisible sources, melodies designed to overwhelm the senses. The air itself was thick with narcotic incense, and in the center, lounging on a throne of living flesh, the keeper of secrets. Luxuria was terrible to behold. 4 arms, each ending in claws of impossible sharpness. A face that shifted between beautiful and horrific. A body that combined masculine and feminine features in ways that shouldn't work, but somehow did. The greater demon radiated an aura of pure sensory overload, every pleasure magnified 1,000-fold, every desire made manifest. Around the demon, thousands of corrupted civilians writhed in eternal ecstasy, lost in sensation, their humanity burned away by excess. Doomslayer, Luxuria's voice was honey and poison. You've come. Of course you have. You always come, always fighting, always killing, never stopping, never resting. The Doomslayer raised his crucible blade. Wait, Luxuria held up one hand. Before you attack, before you try to kill me and fail, let me offer you something. Not corruption, not damnation. Simply respite. The greater demon gestured and reality shifted. The amphitheater faded, replaced by a vision. The Doomslayer saw himself in a place of peace, his armor removed, his weapons laid aside. No demons to fight, no battles to wage. Just quiet, rest, an end to the eternal war. "I offer you this," Luxuria whispered. "Join Slaanesh, and your war ends. Not in defeat, in victory. We'll grant you the power to destroy every demon in existence. Khorne's legions, Nurgle's plagues, Tzeentch's schemes, all of it. You'll win, and then you can rest. Forever." The vision showed more. The Doomslayer reunited with someone. The vision was blurry, unclear, but the emotion was real. Loss, connection, something he'd once had and sacrificed for his eternal crusade. "You've been alone for so long." Luxuria's voice was almost gentle. "Fighting for eons, saving worlds, killing demons, but who saves you? Who gives you peace? I offer this freely. No corruption, no transformation, just rest, just an end to suffering." The Black Templars stood frozen, watching. Even they felt the pull of Slaanesh's temptation through proxy. The offer was perfect, designed specifically for the Doomslayer's psychology. An end to the war he'd fought for eons. Peace after endless violence. The Doomslayer lowered his crucible blade. "No," Castian whispered. "Emperor, no, don't listen." The Doomslayer stood perfectly still for 10 seconds. 15. 20. The vision of peace surrounded him, beckoning, promising everything he denied himself. Then his helmet's speakers crackled. For the first time since arriving in the Warhammer universe, he spoke. His voice was rough from millennia of disuse, but the words were clear. "The work is the point." He raised his crucible blade and charged. Luxuria's perfect composure shattered. "You refuse? I offer you everything. Peace, victory, an end to your war." The Doomslayer didn't answer. He simply drove his blade toward the greater demon's chest. Luxuria moved with impossible speed, all 4 arms lashing out in coordinated assault. Claws that could render ceramite-like paper struck at the Doomslayer from multiple angles. He dodged, weaved, blocked with his crucible blade. Each parry sent sparks flying as argent energy met demonic essence. "Why?" Luxuria screamed, pressing the attack. "Why do you refuse? What is the point of fighting forever? What is the point of endless war?" The Doomslayer's response was to activate his equipment launcher and fire his last frag grenade into Luxuria's face. The explosion staggered the greater demon, and he followed up with a super shotgun blast to the chest. "You'll burn out." Luxuria recovered, now genuinely angry. "You cannot fight forever. Eventually you'll falter, fail, fall, and then what? What will all your struggle have meant?" The Doomslayer fired again and again, each shot perfectly placed, each one chipping away at the greater demon's defenses. His super shotgun clicked empty. He discarded it, drew his heavy assault cannon, and kept firing. The Black Templars joined the assault, but they were struggling. Demonettes swarmed from every entrance, overwhelming numbers trying to separate the Doomslayer from his allies. Castian's power sword carved through demon flesh. Thomas's heavy flamer created walls of fire, but they were being pushed back. "Doomslayer," Castian called out. "We can't hold them. There are too many." The Doomslayer didn't respond. He was locked in combat with Luxuria, both combatants moving at speeds that blurred to the human eye. The greater demon's 4 arms versus his 2, her supernatural grace versus his brutal efficiency. Luxuria caught him with one claw, tearing through his shoulder pauldron, the one the Black Templars had given him. The armor piece fell away, clattering to the ground. "There," Luxuria hissed. "Your connection to them severed. You're alone again, as you always are, as you always will be. This is your fate, Doomslayer. Eternal isolation, eternal war, eternal suffering. Why not end it? Why not accept peace?" The Doomslayer looked at the fallen pauldron, the symbol of brotherhood, of alliance, of not being alone. Then he looked back at Luxuria, and he smiled. His helmet's speakers picked it up, a sound he hadn't made in eons. Genuine, dark amusement, because Luxuria had made a mistake. The greater demon thought isolation was his weakness, thought offering connection and peace would break him. But the Doomslayer had learned something in this universe. He'd learned that fighting alongside others, protecting others, saving others, that made the work meaningful. The isolation wasn't his weakness. It had been his armor, and now that armor wasn't needed. He had brothers in arms. He had a purpose beyond personal vengeance. He had worlds he'd saved and people who lived because he fought. The work was the point, and the work was worth doing. His crucible blade blazed brighter, argent energy responding to his renewed conviction. He drove forward with speed that caught even Luxuria off guard, feinted high, struck low, and severed two of the greater demon's arms. Luxuria screamed, pain and frustration mixed together. "You are broken. You are corrupted by your own righteousness. You have become the thing you fight." The Doomslayer drove his blade through Luxuria's chest, just as he'd done to every greater demon he'd faced. But this time, he twisted the blade, pouring every ounce of remaining argent energy into the strike. "Why?" Luxuria's voice was fading, the greater demon's form beginning to dissolve. "Why do you fight? Why do you refuse every offer, every gift, every chance at peace?" The Doomslayer's answer was simple, transmitted over external speakers so everyone, Black Templars, corrupted civilians, and dying demon alike, could hear, "Because demons need killing." Luxuria dissolved into nothing. True death. The Keeper of Secrets destroyed at a metaphysical level, unable to reform even in the warp. The amphitheater fell silent. The music stopped. The narcotic incense cleared, and the thousands of corrupted civilians who'd been lost in Slanshi, ecstasy, began to wake up. Some screamed in horror at what they had become. Others wept. Most simply stared in confusion as the promises of eternal pleasure faded like a bad dream. The warp breach above the amphitheater convulsed. Without the greater demon to anchor it, the tear began to collapse. Daemonettes shrieked as they were dragged back into the Imperium. The corrupted architecture began to revert to its original form. "The breach is closing," Castian reported, his voice filled with awe. "You did it. You saved Tertius." The Doomslayer stood among the ruins of Slanesh's temple. His armor battered beyond recognition, his weapons depleted, his body running on pure willpower. He'd fought for 3 days straight across 3 worlds, saved 40 million souls, killed thousands of demons, faced all 4 Chaos Guards' corruption, and refused them all. He checked his chronometer. 22 hours on Tertius, under his 24-hour estimate. Mission complete. Then his legs gave out. The Doomslayer collapsed, his armor's medical system screaming warnings, his body finally succumbing to exhaustion that would have killed a normal human days ago. The last thing he heard before unconsciousness took him was Tancred's Vox speakers. He did it. By the Emperor, he actually saved all 3 worlds. That was the most glorious thing I have ever witnessed. Then darkness. The Doomslayer woke in the Sword of Righteousness's Medici facility 14 hours later. His armor had been removed, carefully, reverently, and placed on a maintenance rack where tech priests worked to repair the extensive damage. His body was covered in injuries that would have killed a normal human 3 times over. Fractured ribs, torn muscles, burns from warp fire, and exhaustion so severe that even his enhanced physiology had nearly shut down. But he was alive, and more importantly, 3 worlds were saved. Brother Sergeant Castian sat in a chair by the medical bay, his helmet removed, revealing a scarred face that had seen 2 centuries of warfare. When the Doomslayer's eyes opened, Castian smiled. "Welcome back. You've been unconscious for 14 hours. The apothecaries say you were running on willpower alone for the last 6 hours on Tertius. A normal human would have died from the exertion, Even an Astartes would have struggled. The Doomslayer tried to sit up. Pain exploded through his torso. Castian gently pushed him back down. Rest. That's an order from Marshal Helbrecht. You've earned it. Earned it. The Doomslayer almost laughed. He'd been fighting for so long that rest felt alien, uncomfortable, wrong. But his body wasn't giving him a choice. He'd pushed too far this time. The final tally, Castian continued. Hellion Prime, 15 million saved. Hellion Secundus, 20 million saved. Hellion Tertius, 5 million saved. 40 million souls who are alive because you refuse to quit. The Imperium is declaring the Hellion system liberated. Segmentum Command is sending reinforcements to secure the worlds and begin reconstruction. 40 million. The number was staggering. In 3 days, the Doomslayer had saved more people than most Imperial Guard regiments saved in entire campaigns. There's more. Castian's expression grew serious. Inquisitor Voke has been analyzing warp patterns in the aftermath of your battles. He's detected something unusual. The Chaos God's attention is focused on you now. All 4 of them, Khorne, Nurgle, Tzeentch, and Slaanesh. They've never worked together, not in recorded history, but you've made them bleed. You've proven that a mortal can refuse their gifts and win, and that terrifies them. The Doomslayer's expression didn't change. Good. Let them be afraid. Voke believes they're planning something, a coordinated response. He says the warp is churning with activity, as if the Chaos Gods are preparing a champion specifically to kill you. The door to the Medicae facility opened, and Marshal Helbrecht entered, followed by Inquisitor Voke, and, surprisingly, a new figure, an ancient woman in inquisitorial regalia, her armor covered in purity seals and demon-binding wards. Doomslayer, Helbrecht greeted. I'm glad to see you awake. Allow me to introduce Inquisitor Lord Katarina Greyfax of the Ordo Hereticus. She's come from Segmentum Solar, specifically to meet you. Greyfax studied the Doomslayer with eyes that had seen millennia of service. I've read the reports, studied the recordings, analyzed the data, and I have only one question. What are you? The Doomslayer met her gaze steadily. Not what, Greyfax continued. Who are you? Where did you come from, and why are you helping humanity? The Doomslayer gestured to Castian for a data slate. The brother's sergeant provided one, and with slow, deliberate movements, the Doomslayer typed a response. I am a warrior from another dimension. I fought demons in my universe for eons. I arrived here by accident when 2 hells collided. I fight because demons need killing and people need protecting. That's all. Greyfax read the message, then read it again. That's all? You've saved tens of millions of lives, refused corruption from all 4 Chaos Gods, and redefined what mortals can achieve against the ruinous powers. And your motivation is simply, demons need killing. The Doomslayer nodded. Remarkable, Greyfax said softly. The Inquisition has spent millennia searching for the perfect weapon against chaos. We've tried faith, technology, psychic power, even controlled exposure to the warp. And here you are, a warrior whose purity comes not from the Emperor's blessing, but from absolute, unwavering purpose. She leaned closer. The Chaos Gods fear you, Doomslayer. I've felt it through my psychic communion with sanctioned astropaths. The warp itself recoils when your name is spoken. You represent something they cannot comprehend. A mortal who refuses corruption, not through divine intervention, but through sheer force of will. Which makes him a target, Voke added. The ruinous powers are preparing something. My sources indicate movement in the warp. All 4 Chaos Guards directing resources toward a single project. A champion, Helbrecht concluded. They're creating a champion specifically designed to kill the Doomslayer. The Medicae facility fell silent. Outside, through the viewport, the 3 liberated worlds of Helion hung in space like rescued jewels. 40 million people going about their lives, unaware that the warrior who'd saved them was now the target of all 4 Chaos gods. The Doomslayer's response was to swing his legs off the medical bed. Pain shot through his body, but he powered through it. He needed to get back to his armor, back to his weapons, back to fighting. "Doomslayer, no," Castian protested. "You need at least 3 days of recovery before—" A klaxon wailed across the ship. Emergency Vox systems crackled to life. "Marshal Helbrecht to the Strategium immediately. We're receiving an astropathic transmission. Priority Alpha. Source unknown." Everyone rushed to the bridge, the Doomslayer limping but keeping pace. When they arrived, they found the ship's astropath, a wizened psyker with her eyes burned out and replaced with augmetics, standing before the tactical display, trembling. "What is it?" Helbrecht demanded. "A message," the astropath whispered. "From the warp. From them? All 4 of them, speaking in unison." "Show us." The tactical display flickered, and for a moment the bridge crew glimpsed the warp itself, the realm of chaos in all its terrible glory. And in that chaos, 4 presences so vast they defied comprehension. Khorne's rage, Nurgle's decay, Tzeentch's schemes, Slanesh's excess, all focused on a single point. Then words appeared, written in burning letters across the display. "Doomslayer, you have caught our attention. You have refused our gifts. You have killed our champions. You believe yourself beyond our reach. We will prove you wrong. We have created a champion, chaos undivided, empowered by all 4 gods, forged specifically to end you. He waits on the demon world of Sacrovox. Come, face him, die, or accept that even you cannot stand alone against the ruinous powers united. This is our challenge. Your war ends here." The message faded. The tactical display returned to normal. The bridge crew stood in stunned silence. "It's a trap," Vogue said immediately. "Obviously a trap. They're luring you to a demon world where their power is absolute. You'd be walking into the heart of chaos itself." "Agreed," Greyfax added. "Any tactical assessment would recommend refusal. You've already saved 3 worlds. Proved your worth. There's no strategic value in accepting this challenge." The Doomslayer limped to the tactical display. His body was broken, his weapons depleted, his armor damaged beyond quick repair. Every rational calculation said to refuse, to recover, to prepare. He typed on the data slate, "Plot course to Sacrovox." "Absolutely not," Helbrecht said firmly. "Doomslayer, I respect your courage, but this is suicide. You need weeks of recovery. Your armor needs extensive repairs. Your weapons need—" The Doomslayer held up his hand, typed more. "The chaos. Gods made this personal, made it a challenge. If I refuse, they win. If I hide, they've proven I can be intimidated. But if I go, if I kill their champion—" He paused, then finished. "I prove that chaos can't win. Not through champions, not through corruption, not through fear. I prove that mortals can stand against gods and win." "He's right," Castian said quietly. "This isn't about tactics. It's about symbolism. The Chaos Gods are trying to break morale across the Imperium by killing the one warrior who's proven truly incorruptible. But if he wins, Greyfax breathed, he proves that Chaos isn't invincible, that their champions can be killed, that their gods can bleed." "The psychological impact would be enormous," Vogue agreed reluctantly. "But the risk—" "I'll go with him," Tancred's Vox speakers boomed. The dreadnought had remained silent until now, but his enthusiasm was undimmed. "If the Doomslayer fights, I fight beside him. We are battle brothers." "We all go," Castian added, his squad nodding in unison. "We've followed him through 3 worlds of hell. We'll follow him to one more." Helbrecht looked at his assembled warriors. Then at the Doomslayer. The Marshal had commanded crusades for over a century. He'd faced impossible odds, made hard choices, sent brothers to their deaths in service of the Imperium. But this moment felt different. This wasn't about the Imperium. This was about proving that darkness couldn't win, that evil could be fought, that one warrior with unwavering purpose could stand against literal gods. Very well, Helbrecht decided. We make for Sacrivox. Tech priests, I want the Doomslayer's armor repaired to combat-ready status within 18 hours. Armory Master, provide all available ammunition and equipment. Navigator, plot the fastest warp route to the Daemon world. He turned to the Doomslayer. You have 3 days to recover before we arrive. Use them, because when we reach Sacrivox, you'll face the combined might of all 4 Chaos Gods. And if you fall... He won't fall, Tancred interrupted. The Doomslayer doesn't know how to fall, only how to kill demons. From your Vox speakers to the Emperor's ears, Helbrecht said quietly. In the warp, the 4 Chaos Gods watched and prepared. Khorne sat upon his throne of skulls, brass armor gleaming, and raged. The mortal refuses. Good. I will savor his skull all the more when our champion takes it. Nurgle tended his garden of plagues, his bloated form quivering with mirth. Let him come. Our champion will teach him that all things rot, even hope. Tzench calculated from his crystalline fortress, manipulating futures and possibilities. 10,000 futures. In 9,998, he dies. In 2, he wins. Acceptable odds. Slanesh reclined in excess, beautiful and terrible. He refused my offer of peace. Very well. Our champion will offer him suffering instead, and in that suffering, he'll finally break. Together, the 4 Chaos Gods focused their power on a single point in the warp, a ritual circle where their energies converged. And from that convergence, a champion was forged. Not a demon, for demons the Doomslayer had proven he could kill. Not a sorcerer, for sorcery he had resisted. Not a berserker, for rage he had mastered. This would be something new, something unique. A warrior empowered by all 4 gods, given the strengths of chaos without the weaknesses of devotion to any single power. The champion rose from the ritual circle, his armor a fusion of brass and decay, his weapons blessed by all 4 gods. His purpose singular: kill the Doomslayer. He spoke in a voice that was 4 voices harmonized. I am Malachor the Unified, champion of chaos undivided, herald of the Dark God's will, and I will end the Doomslayer's war. The Chaos Gods watched their creation and smiled. This time, the mortal warrior would fall. This time, chaos would prove invincible. This time, they would teach the galaxy that some wars could never be won. They were about to learn a very different lesson. The demon world of Sacrivox hung in space like a tumor on reality itself. It existed partially in the material universe and partially in the warp, a twisted fusion where chaos's corruption had become so complete that the boundaries between dimensions blurred. From orbit, the Sword of Righteousness's augurs struggled to make sense of the sensor returns. The planet's surface shifted constantly. One moment a hellscape of brass and skulls, the next a garden of disease, then a maze of impossible geometry, then a palace of excess. All 4 chaos realms superimposed on a single world. This is madness, Brother Hadrian whispered, staring at the tactical display. The planet shouldn't exist. It violates every law of physics. It exists because the Chaos Gods will it, Inquisitor Greyfax explained. Sacrivox is their neutral ground, the one place where all 4 powers can manifest equally. They use it for their champions' trials, for demon-binding rituals, for challenges like this. Marshal Helbrecht studied the planet with tactical precision. Insertion points? There's only one viable site. Greyfax indicated a clearing on the planet's surface. a plateau that remains stable regardless of which Chaos God's influence is dominant at any moment. It's where the challenge will take place. The Doomslayer stood at the edge of the strategiums, his armor freshly repaired and gleaming. The tech priests had worked miracles in 3 days, restoring function to every system, repairing damage that should have required weeks of work. His weapons were fully loaded. Super shotgun, heavy assault cannon, equipment launcher, restocked with grenades. His BFG 9000 had been recharged to full capacity. His crucible blade hummed with argent energy. Physically, he was as ready as possible, but 3 days of rest hadn't been enough to fully recover from the Helion campaign. His ribs still ached. His muscles were tight. Medical scans showed microfractures throughout his skeletal structure that would take weeks to heal properly. But the mission couldn't wait. The Chaos Gods had issued their challenge, and refusing would have strategic consequences beyond just his personal fate. "You don't have to do this alone," Castian said, approaching with his squad. "We could deploy with you, provide support." The Doomslayer shook his head. He typed on a data slate. "This is personal. They challenged me specifically. I accept on the same terms. One warrior versus their champion." "Pride," Voke observed. "The Chaos Gods are counting on it. They know you won't bring backup because it would diminish the symbolic victory they seek." "Not pride. Strategy. If I win alone, it proves one mortal can defeat Chaos undivided. If I bring an army and win, they'll claim I needed help. The message matters as much as the victory." "And if you lose?" Greyfax asked quietly. The Doomslayer's helmet turned toward her. "Then at least they only kill me, not everyone who would have come as backup." "Unacceptable," Tancred's Vox speakers boomed. "I refuse to let you fight alone. I'm your battle brother. We fight together, or not at all." The Doomslayer approached the ancient dreadnought, placed one armored hand on Tancred's chassis. The gesture was clear, appreciation, but this was his fight. "Promise me something," Castian said. "Promise that if it goes badly, if you're overwhelmed, you'll retreat. Call for extraction. We'll have Thunderhawks ready." The Doomslayer considered, then nodded. He'd promised to call for extraction. He just wouldn't promise to actually retreat. Semantics were important. "Insertion window in 1 hour," Helbrecht announced. "Doomslayer, use this time for final preparations. And Emperor preserve you. You carry more than just your own fate into that battle. You carry the hope of everyone who believes Chaos can be defeated." The Doomslayer gave a thumbs up, then headed for the armory for one final weapons check. The Thunderhawk descended through Sacravox's tortured atmosphere alone. The Doomslayer was its only passenger, sitting in the troop compartment surrounded by the silence of approaching battle. Through the armored viewports, he watched the demon world's surface approach. It was beautiful in a terrible way. Brass citadels burned with eternal flame. Gardens of diseased splendor bloomed with impossible life. Crystalline mazes reflected futures that would never be. Palaces of sensation promised everything and delivered damnation. And in the center of it all, the plateau. A perfectly circular area of stable ground, perhaps 500 meters across. Waiting. Approaching landing zone, the pilot's voice crackled. "Emperor's throne, I see him. I see the champion. Doomslayer, he's massive." The Thunderhawk touched down at the plateau's edge. The assault ramp dropped, and the Doomslayer stepped out onto the demon world's surface. The ground beneath his boots was wrong. Not quite solid, not quite liquid. It rippled with every step, as if reality itself was uncertain of its state. The air tasted of copper and ash and something sweet that made him want to gag. And across the plateau, standing alone, the champion waited. Malachor the Unified was a nightmare made manifest. He stood 4 meters tall, his armor a fusion of all 4 Chaos Gods' aesthetics. Brass plates from Khorne, diseased ceramite from Nurgle, crystalline runes from Tzeentch, Baroque excess from Slaanesh, all fused into a single suit of corrupted power armor that pulsed with warp energy. He carried 4 weapons, one for each god, a chain axe crackling with Khornate rage, a plague sword dripping with Nurgle's rot, a staff blazing with Tzeentchian sorcery, a whip of sensation blessed by Slaanesh. And his face, visible through his helmet's open visor, was human, or had been once. Now it was a canvas of Chaos's gifts, one eye burning red with rage, one weeping with disease, one seeing futures, one dilated with excess. Doomslayer. Malakor's voice was 4 voices speaking in harmony. I am the answer to your defiance. The weapon forged specifically to end you, empowered by all 4 gods, given every advantage, created for singular purpose. The Doomslayer said nothing. He simply raised his super shotgun. No words. Malakor tilted his head. Good. Words are weakness. The dark gods have shown me your history. I know what you are. A warrior who's fought for eons, who's killed billions of demons, who's never accepted defeat. Malakor spread his arms, displaying his weapons. I know what you've accomplished in this universe. Tertium Majoris saved, Golan Prime liberated, the Helion system freed. Impressive, but your war ends today, because I am everything Chaos can be when united, and you are just one mortal. The Doomslayer's response was immediate. He fired both barrels of his super shotgun directly at Malakor's chest. The champion moved with impossible speed, dodging to the side. The shots missed by centimeters. Malakor laughed, a sound like grinding metal and bubbling disease and insane giggles combined. Fast, but I'm faster. Slaanesh's gift. He lunged forward, whip lashing out. The Doomslayer rolled beneath it, came up firing his heavy assault cannon. Hundreds of rounds per second hammered into Malakor's position. The champion raised his plague sword, and a wall of toxic vapor materialized, absorbing the bullets. Durable. Nurgle's blessing. The vapor cleared, and Malakor was already there, chain axe swinging in a devastating arc. The Doomslayer blocked with his crucible blade, and when the weapons met, reality screamed. Argent energy versus chaos corruption, order versus entropy. The Doomslayer was driven back, his boots carving trenches in the unstable ground. Malakor's strength was inhuman, beyond even the bloodthirsters he'd fought. Strong, Khorne's power. The champion followed up with his staff, sorcerous energy lashing out in a bolt of pure change. The Doomslayer's shields flared, absorbed the blast, but flickered dangerously low. Malakor's magic wasn't normal warp sorcery. It was reality manipulation blessed by Tzeentch himself. And wise, Tzeentch's cunning. They separated, circling each other on the plateau. Around them, the demon world pulsed with energy. The 4 chaos gods watched through the veil between dimensions, their attention focused on this single combat. You've fought well, Malakor acknowledged. Killed our champions, refused our gifts, saved millions. But look around you, Doomslayer. Look at this world. This is what chaos is when united. This is the power you face. The Doomslayer looked around, saw the brass citadels, the diseased gardens, the impossible mazes, the palaces of excess, all the corruption of the warp made manifest. Then he looked back at Malakor and shook his head, because he'd seen worse. In Doom's hell, he'd fought through dimensions that made Sacravox look tame, had faced the icon of sin, a demon the size of a city, had walked through the very heart of hell itself and emerged victorious. This demon world, this champion. This was just Tuesday. He charged. What followed was the most brutal combat the Doomslayer had experienced since arriving in Warhammer. Malakor fought with the skill of 4 chaos gods combined. Every attack was perfectly timed, every defense flawless, every counter devastating. The champion's chain axe came down in patterns designed by Khorne himself. Pure killing efficiency. The Doomslayer dodged, parried, blocked. His crucible blade met each strike, argent energy burning against chaos corruption. Malakor's plague sword lashed out, its diseased edge trying to infect on contact. The Doomslayer's shields took the hits, depleting rapidly, but he powered through. Nurgle's rot couldn't take hold in his argent-enhanced armor. The champion's staff fired bolts of pure change, trying to transform the Doomslayer into something else. Stone, ash, nothingness. The Doomslayer's technology rejected the transformations at a fundamental level. Tzeentch's sorcery met argent energy and cancelled out, and Malakor's whip, blessed by Slaanesh, tried to inflict sensations so overwhelming they'd paralyze. Pain and pleasure mixed together in ways that should have shut down the nervous system. The Doomslayer felt it all and ignored it, his mind too focused on combat to process sensation. They fought for 10 minutes straight, neither gaining advantage, neither falling back. The plateau beneath them cracked and reformed with each clash. Reality itself struggled to contain the violence. Then Malakor made his first mistake. He tried to use all 4 weapons simultaneously, chain axe high, plague sword low, staff middle, whip flanking. It was perfect coordination, an attack pattern that should have been impossible to defend against, but 4 weapons meant 4 points of focus. 4 attacks meant 4 opportunities. The Doomslayer activated his equipment launcher and fired a frag grenade directly into the center of Malakor's formation. The explosion disrupted the pattern just long enough for him to dodge inside the champion's guard. At point-blank range, he fired his BFG 9000. The emerald plasma sphere detonated against Malakor's chest at 0 range. Argent energy exploded outward, consuming chaos corruption. The champion screamed, 4 voices in terrible harmony. As his armor cracked, his weapons fell from nerveless fingers, and his body was thrown backward across the plateau. The Doomslayer advanced, weapons ready to finish the kill. But Malakor rose. His armor was cracked, his body wounded, but he was still functional. The Chaos God's combined blessing kept him fighting even when he should have died. "Impressive," Malakor wheezed. "That weapon, it hurts, it truly hurts, but it's not enough. The Dark Gods have made me resilient beyond death itself." His wounds began to heal. Nurgle's regeneration, his armor reformed. Tzeentch's reconstruction, his strength returned. Khorne's endurance, his speed increased. Slaanesh's enhancement. The champion was adapting, learning, growing stronger with each exchange. "You see," Malakor spread his arms, "you cannot kill me. I am chaos undivided. I am everything you've fought, everything you've refused, everything you've denied, all in one form, and I will never stop, never tire, never fall." He advanced. All 4 weapons recovered. "You're mortal, fallible. Eventually you'll falter, miss a parry. Make a mistake, and when you do, I'll kill you. Then I'll kill your Black Templar allies. Then I'll corrupt the worlds you saved. Everything you've accomplished will be undone." The Doomslayer checked his BFG, depleted. Super shotgun at 50% ammunition, heavy assault cannon at 40%, crucible blade at 60% charge, equipment launcher with 3 grenades remaining. He was running low. And Malakor was right. The champion's regeneration meant this could go on indefinitely. Every wound would heal, every attack would be learned from. Eventually, exhaustion would set in. He needed to end this quickly. But how did you quickly kill something blessed by all 4 Chaos Gods? Then he remembered Luxuria's offer. The Keeper of Secrets had promised him peace, an end to his war, and he'd refused because the work was the point, the work, the eternal fight, the purpose. And suddenly, he understood. Malakor wasn't trying to kill him. Not really. The Chaos Gods didn't want him dead. They wanted him broken. Wanted to prove that even the most incorruptible warrior could be defeated. Wanted to demonstrate that chaos always won in the end. But they'd made a fundamental miscalculation. They assumed he fought to win. Assumed he fought for victory, for glory, for eventual peace. But he didn't fight to win. He fought because demons needed killing. The outcome didn't matter. Only the work. And if the work was eternal, if the fight never ended, if he had to battle Malachor forever on this demon world, fine, he'd done worse. The Doomslayer's posture changed. He stopped fighting defensively, stopped trying to conserve ammunition, stopped calculating angles for a killing blow. He just started killing. Super shotgun boomed in constant rhythm. Heavy assault cannon roared without pause. Crucible blade carved through reality with reckless abandon. Equipment launcher fired grenades as fast as he could reload. Malachor's eyes widened. "What are you doing? You'll burn through your ammunition. You'll exhaust yourself. You'll..." The Doomslayer tackled him. No weapons, just pure physical violence. He drove Malachor to the ground and started punching, armored fist against corrupted face, over and over and over. "Stop!" Malachor tried to throw him off, but the Doomslayer held on with grip strength that bordered on inhuman. "This is pointless. You're wasting energy." "You can't." The Doomslayer didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Wouldn't stop, because this was what he was. This was his purpose. Endless violence against demons. No strategy, no grand plan, just the eternal work of killing evil wherever it existed. Malachor's regeneration struggled to keep up. Every punch from the Doomslayer was infused with argent energy. His gauntlets had residual charge from the crucible blade. Each strike burned away. Chaos corruption faster than the champion could heal. "You're insane!" Malachor screamed. "You're broken! You've been fighting so long that violence is all you know. You're no better than the demons you kill." The Doomslayer's fist paused. For just a moment he stopped. Then he reactivated his helmet's external speakers and spoke. His voice was rough, tired, but absolutely certain. "The difference is I fight for others. You fight for gods who don't care if you live or die. I fight to save people. You fight to serve corruption. We are not the same." He drove his crucible blade through Malachor's chest, through the armor that had been blessed by all four Chaos gods, through the flesh that had been enhanced beyond mortality, through the essence that had been forged specifically to kill him. Argent energy blazed. Malachor's scream was four voices in terrible harmony, fading, diminishing, ending. "No," the champion whispered. "The gods promised. I was supposed to..." "You can't rip and tear," the Doomslayer said simply. "Until it is done." Malachor the Unified dissolved. Not banished back to the warp, not retreating to regenerate. Destroyed. Completely. Permanently. True death for a champion blessed by all four Chaos gods. The demon world screamed. Reality itself recoiled. And in the warp, the four Chaos gods experienced something they rarely felt. Genuine surprise. The Doomslayer stood alone on the plateau, surrounded by the dissolving corpse of Chaos's greatest champion. His armor was battered, his weapons were depleted, his body was exhausted beyond measure, but he was alive, and he'd won. In the warp, the four Chaos gods stared at their failure. Khorne's rage was apocalyptic. Impossible. Our champion had every advantage, every blessing. How did a mortal... "He doesn't fight like a mortal," Nurgle interrupted, his voice thoughtful. "He fights like a concept, like an idea made flesh. The concept that evil can be defeated through endless resistance." "I see it now," Tzeentch said, calculating futures that now looked different. "We made an error. We assumed he fought to win, but he doesn't fight for victory. He fights because fighting is his nature. You cannot defeat someone who views the battle itself as the reward." "He's broken," Slaanesh observed. "So thoroughly broken by eons of war that he's transcended normal psychology. He doesn't desire peace, doesn't crave rest, doesn't need purpose beyond the work. He is war incarnate." The four Chaos gods fell silent, contemplating this impossible warrior who refused to play by their rules. Then Khorne spoke, and his voice carried grudging respect. "He is worthy." "Agreed," Nurgle sighed. "We cannot corrupt him, cannot kill him, cannot break him." "So what do we do?" Slaanesh asked. Tzeentch's crystalline eyes gleamed. "We adapt, we learn, we remember, and we ensure that when next we face him, we do not make the same mistakes." "But for now," Nurgle pressed. The four Chaos gods looked at each other and reached unspoken consensus. "For now," Khorne rumbled, "we let him fight. Let him save his worlds. Let him kill our demons. Because eventually, even he must fall. And when he does, his skull will rest upon my throne. His corpse will rot in Nurgle's garden. His soul will fuel Tzeentch's schemes, and his final moments will belong to Slaanesh." "Agreed," the others chorused. The Chaos God's attention shifted away from Sacravox, turning to other battles, other champions, other schemes. The Doomslayer had won this battle, but the war was eternal. The Thunderhawk extraction was clean and efficient. The Doomslayer limped aboard, his armor held together more by willpower than structural integrity. The moment he collapsed into the troop compartment, medical servitors swarmed, treating wounds and administering combat stems. "Doomslayer, this is Brother Sergeant Castian," the Vox crackled. "We saw the energy signatures from orbit. Did you win?" The Doomslayer gave a tired thumbs up. The Vox exploded with cheering. Castian, Thomas, Hadrian, Brennis, Grimaldus, even the normally composed Helbrecht, all celebrating this impossible victory. "He killed a Chaos Undivided champion." Tancred's enthusiasm was nuclear. "This is the most glorious thing in the history of glorious things. I must record this for the chapter chronicles. The Doomslayer has proven that chaos can bleed." As the Thunderhawk climbed toward orbit, the Doomslayer looked back at Sacravox one final time. The demon world was already healing from his presence, chaos corruption reasserting itself. But for a moment, for one brief moment, he'd proven something important. Mortals could stand against gods and win. The message would spread through astropathic channels, through Vox transmissions, through stories told by Imperial Guard regiments and whispered in ecclesiarchy cathedrals. The legend of the Doomslayer, the warrior in green who refused chaos and won. Hope. He'd given the Imperium hope. 3 days later, the Doomslayer stood in the Sword of Righteousness's strategium, his armor repaired once more, his weapons restocked. Helbrecht had assembled the command staff for a briefing. "The Helion campaign is complete," the Marshal announced. 3 worlds saved, 40 million souls liberated, 1 Chaos Undivided champion destroyed. The Imperium has taken notice. Segmentum Command wants to award you the highest honors, Star of Terror, Macarian Cross, perhaps even direct recognition from the High Lords. The Doomslayer shook his head. "No awards necessary." "I expected that response," Helbrecht smiled, "which is why I declined on your behalf. But there is one matter that cannot be avoided. The Inquisition, specifically Inquisitor Lord Greyfax, has been analyzing your combat effectiveness. She has a proposal." Greyfax stepped forward, her ancient face serious. "Doomslayer, you've proven yourself the most effective demon killer in Imperial history. In 6 weeks, you've accomplished what entire Crusade fleets struggle to achieve in years. The Ordo Malleus wants to formalize your position, make you an official inquisitorial asset with resources, intelligence, and support across the Imperium." She paused. "You'd have access to every demon incursion report, every warp anomaly, every chaos threat. We'd coordinate extraction, resupply, and tactical support. You could save hundreds of worlds instead of just the ones the Black Templars encounter." The Doomslayer considered. More resources meant more dead demons. That was acceptable. He nodded. "Excellent." Greyfax allowed herself a small smile. "Welcome to the Inquisition, Doomslayer. You won't be an Inquisitor. You answer to no one, but you'll have our full support. Consider yourself an independent agent with singular purpose. Kill demons, save worlds. Where do we start? Castian asked. What's the next target? Greyfax activated the tactical display. It showed the segmentum obscurus in detail. Red markers, hundreds of them, indicating demon incursions, warp anomalies, and chaos corruption across dozens of worlds. The Cicatrix maledictum has torn the galaxy in half, she explained. Thousands of worlds face extinction. The Imperium is stretched impossibly thin. We're losing planets faster than we can save them. She highlighted one cluster of red markers. The Gothic sector. 7 worlds under simultaneous assault. Estimated casualties, 100 million. The Inquisition has already written them off as lost. Exterminatus orders are pending. The Doomslayer studied the display, then pointed at the Gothic sector. You want to save all 7? Helbrecht's voice carried awe and concern in equal measure. That's a month-long campaign at minimum. Even with full Crusade fleet support. The Doomslayer typed on a data slate. Helion was 3 worlds in 72 hours. 7 worlds in 4 weeks is conservative. I can do better. He can, Castian agreed. I've fought beside him long enough to know. When the Doomslayer sets a timeline, demons die according to schedule. Helbrecht studied the tactical display, then looked at his assembled command staff. Then we set course for the Gothic sector. Prepare for extended operations. This won't be a quick strike like Tertium Majoris or even Helion. This will be a campaign. He turned to the Doomslayer. You've saved 40 million souls. Now let's save 100 million more. For the Emperor and for humanity. For the Emperor, the assembled staff echoed. The Doomslayer didn't echo the prayer, but he checked his weapons, loaded his super shotgun, and nodded. Because the work continued. The war was eternal, and he was the Doomslayer, until every demon was dead, until every world was saved, until it was done. Rip and tear, until it is done. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.